Hey guys, welcome to tonight's episode of the LGBTQ Voice. My name is Traci Welch and I'll be hosting this evening. I want to let you guys know that a member of our community, Belle A Pellegrino, passed away last week of cancer. And she was so instrumental in our community that I wanted to kind of do a private show on Belle and her contributions to the community. So I reached out and I have some letters to read to you guys, and some of these I actually pulled from Facebook. As you guys know, I look each week and try and get the show up so I can answer questions along the way. So if you guys have anything you want to say, just pop it up here and I'll be able to look at it periodically. So again, I reached out to the community. Being the holidays, some folks in the community live a little bit further away. There are no guests tonight, but we actually have video footage of the show that Belle was on in June, and we'll show that following the letters that I'm reading. Belle was on our show in March, about marches and political movements in June. And I took and cut and pasted, if you want to call it that, Belle's part of the show and the interview with Belle. So right now, I have a letter from Billy. Billy was one of the original 76ers with Belle at Rhode Island Pride. So Billy Menser Ackerley, if I say your name, Billy, I'm sorry, I always just call you Billy. So I live a quiet life with my husband, Alex, in Worcester, Mass. I am 68 years old and he is 73 years old. He is going through radiation treatment for prostate cancer. I met Belle in the summer of 1975. We were at MCC Providence in Providence, Rhode Island. We quickly became friends. She was loving, compassionate, giving, non-judgmental. Belle was a proud veteran serving in the Marines. She was brought up in an Italian family. It was a very loving family. She attended Rhode Island College, where she was part of the Gay Alliance on campus. Belle became a minister in MCC and served as the pastor of MCC in Albany, New York. In 1976, went to court with I'm going to say the names wrong, sorry, Lavier and Reverend Joseph Gilbert to fight for the right for the LGBT community. This was the bicentennial year. She had two women lead the parade carrying a kazoo, guitar, and drum. She was very brave. She was a wonderful friend. We have been friends for over 40 years. She became very involved with the Imperial Court of Rhode Island. She became the first emperor. She was the emperor twice. She was a hard worker, always willing to help. Belle was loved by many. She loved her cat, Gabby. I hope this info has been some help. In 2010, we were honored at the Pyramid of Pride Awards. We were called the 76ers, the people who bravely marched in the first gay parade in 1976. Belle has a large family that all love and accept her. I miss her very much. I thought the world of her. She was a drag king with a heart of gold. This is just a brief story. Belle died of cancer. She was 74 years old. Much love, Billy. So again, I appreciate the letters. I appreciate people reaching out to help us with the show. Belle was an impact for everybody. So that one again was from Billy. I read Billy's first because, again, he was the original 76er with her. The next one I have, a friend of mine, is from Austin. Actually sent me a message. Austin Barraza as Emperor 18. Belle was actually Emperor 16 and 24 of the Imperial Court of Rhode Island. Austin often helped us out at New Bedford Pride. When I remember us fondly doing security together. So this is from Austin. Belle was an inspiration several generations needed. She was courageous when it was needed. She was wise, humble, fair, just, funny, loyal, kind, empathic, and compassionate. She always had a way of breaking through walls and tearing through tape, even if no one else knew it was there. She lit the fire to drive harder and farther in many, many people. She was an inspiration, although she always refused to believe that. No matter what hurdle she was jumping, she did it with class and never insulted those opposing her. She taught those around her so many life lessons, the greatest of which was how to find one's self-peace. Austin, Emperor 18. So the next one is from Diana Prince. Diana was going to be a guest on our show. Diana had lost another close friend, and it was a very emotional week for Diana. So on Diana's Facebook page, she wrote something for Belle, and it was very important when Belle first ran for Emperor 16, well, reign 16 with Diana. What happened that day? So this is from Diana Prince. Over 10 years ago, Belle and I set forth to run for the monarch titles for Reign 16. This was the year they had changed the way we voted. This was also the first time a woman, lesbian king was running for the title of Emperor of the Imperial Court of Rhode Island. It's hard to believe, but there were members that thought there was no room for this in the court. I can remember one colleague member pulling me aside and actually saying, "Do you really need an emperor?" I mean, how do you answer that? People showed up that we had not seen in years just to cast a no vote. So Belle and I were the first 2 people to cast our ballots, and then people came in one by one and voted. After the time limit to vote had expired, everyone gathered into the room for the votes to be counted. You needed 50 of the votes plus 1 vote. Well, 25 people voted that day, and each vote was read out loud. It got more nerve-wracking. I ended up with 18 yes and 7 no. But Belle wasn't doing well. She was getting no votes left and right. To say the least, it was very upsetting. It came down to the wire. She had 12 yes and 12 no, and 1 vote left to read. You see, the last vote that was read was my vote. I had folded my paper in 4. Everyone else folded in half. They read the final vote. It was a yes. Tears streamed down her face. She had done it. There was nothing the naysayers could do now. Later that night, she pulled me aside and said, "I will always have your back," and she did. Belle, I will always love and treasure our reign and friendship until we meet again. Diana Prince. So this is a good time, because you guys know I get upset from time to time, that we're going to show what the interview that we had with Belle on the show. So AJ, if you could play that, I appreciate it. So we're very fortunate to have 5 guests tonight. We're going to be talking about marches and political movement in and around our area. So we have Belle Pellegrino. Belle is one of the original 76ers of Providence Pride, as well as the Emperor 16 and 24 of the Imperial Court of Rhode Island.
Yep.
We have Nicole Lopes, our local DJ extraordinaire from La Place, and DJ the first Pride in New Bedford. We're going to talk to her about her evolution with Prides and her community involvement. We have Joan Stratton as well, South Coast Equality, starting New Bedford Pride. And what else? A lot. Pride Cafe, a lot of things you guys have done. And we have a political movement talking about tonight, Viola Pina and Liz DiCarlo. So I want to thank you guys all for coming tonight. So we're going to kind of start it off with Belle. So Belle, Rhode Island Pride is this Saturday. And will you be at it?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, will you have a table for Rhode Island Pride or for the Imperial Court of Rhode Island?
For the last few years, we've been setting up a table for the RI 76ers.
Yeah.
Those of us that are still around and they're coming down to the festival, we usually bring photographs so that anyone who's wandering by can come in and say hello to us. It's kind of a gathering place for us, because most of us can't get around quite as well anymore. But it's a way for us to teach the younger folks what it's about, why we did it, why we wanted it to happen, and they're our legacy, they're our kids, so we share with them.
Oh, that's terrific. So how many people marched at the first parade?
110.
110, and were the police present for that?
In order to get the first Pride Parade, we had to sue pretty much anybody and everybody, including the chief of police and the mayor and all kinds of stuff. And when the federal court put down that we were going to have the parade, the chief of police said, although the statement in the Providence Journal said, "No faggots walking down my streets,"
Yep.
he was the first face I saw standing there watching us. And there was an incident at the end of the parade where somebody tried to cut through and almost hit somebody. And he grabbed the guy and pulled him over right away and gave him what for, because he was going to make sure that if it was the law, then he was going to defend it. So we had plenty of police.
Oh, that's pretty good. So 1976, let's go back. I mean, we're 2018 now. A lot has happened.
Oh, yes.
You know, so what is it, you know, I'm sorry, back then, was it a night parade or was it a day parade?
No, it was a daytime parade. We kicked off at like 1 in the afternoon.
So when did it progress to be a night parade? And like, what was the reasoning for that? Do you know for that?
I'm not sure. I lived in upstate New York for a while, and while I was gone, when I left, they were still doing it during the daytime. That would have been 82, 83. And when I moved back at the end of the 90s, it was nighttime.
Oh, That's funny.
And I'm not sure, because it was something different, I think.
Did you see in the newspaper this week? What is it, top 10 prides in the world?
Yes.
Rhode Island's, what, number 7, number 10? Number 7.
It's in there.
It's in there. Rhode Island. Who would have thought? Boston Pride?
Boston
No,
was not there.
not there. Rhode Island. And I think because of Illuminating Parade. You know, the festival's all day, they have the bands, and they have the beer tent. So they have the, they have a we have our youth here tonight, folks, our youth are over there. I was trying to explain to the kids that they have a strip of street that they block off, and then they have a band stage, they have their beer tent, and then later on in the evening, they have their march and parade all through Providence, and they have a viewing station in front of, what's it? PPAC. So Bill, we talked about it earlier, Bill is one of the original 76ers from Rhode Island Pride, and on his Facebook page every day, he writes a story about one of the 76ers on his Facebook page. And I just think it's so inspirational. We were talking about earlier that with Joni and I, that a lot of our history is gone. So I believe that Andy Pollock, that was on our show, has been starting an archive right now and interviewing people to kind of keep that history up. But with each time that he posts something on his Facebook page, he posts pins from Pride's past. So you get to see Rhode Island Pride pins from the past, and it's kind of sentimental and whatnot. I used to be on South Coast Equality, like Cape Cod Gay Pride. So when I was part of Northeast Regional Prides, we'd all exchange pins. So I have pins from back in the day of Philly Pride and certain things like that. I would probably have a dozen of them. But every day he shows something, and it's very inspirational to see on the pages. So
Billy has the distinction of having marched in every Rhode Island Pride parade from the first.
Oh my God.
He's not missed any.
It's just amazing how many folks are still surviving, or how many people are still alive, if you want to call it that way.
Not too many. We lost 2 last year,
Yeah.
a couple of years before. And on the anniversary years, the big years, the multiples of 5, I try and collect as many as I can and get them there, because we don't know how many more there's going to be.
Wow. So if we're going to talk about Stonewall, and that's one of the reasons that we have prides today. In 1969, Stonewall riots happened in New York. Excuse me. It was a mafia-owned bar, and the gays and lesbians, back then transsexuals, would hang out at that bar. And we're assuming, from what we heard in the media, that the mafia would pay the police off to let them serve the gays in the bar, and the police would come in and they would harass the patrons. And this one particular day, the police raids were routine. This one particular day, the gay people in the bar had had enough. They fought back. They ended up pushing the police into the building and barricaded them in. And then it was a riot for, one article said 3 days, another article said 6 days. And then a year to the day, Pride happened June 28, 1970, New York, LA, San Francisco, and Chicago. And then it started. So one of the questions I had is, if Stonewall riots didn't happen, when do you think the gay rights movement would have started?
It's probably would have been around the same time or shortly thereafter, because people were pretty much fed up. Even in Rhode Island, it was kind of something that happened all across the country. The only time the guys and the girls could get together is because we had to for safety. And the lights would blink and you'd swap partners for who you were dancing with. A few years back, just before Pride in Rhode Island, we were in a bar talking, another old timer and myself and the head of Pride, and the lights blinked, and the guy and I both flinched, and he was like, "What's that about?" And we told him the story, but when they flipped the lights, you had to swap partners.
That was a trigger.
Oh yeah, and we looked at each other and laughed because we didn't think that was still in us.
Yeah.
But being in the bar and that light flipped and we both just jumped. You can only take so much of that for so long. If it hadn't been Stonewall in '68, it would have been someplace else, and it would have been. It had to have happened. We were done.
I was doing some research, and then after the Stonewall riots, 2 gay activist organizations were formed in New York, and 3 established newspapers to talk about gay rights and promote, gayness, if you want to call it that. And they think that that was also instrumental, having it start in some place, and then it's kind of spread and spread and spread, and slowly but surely across the U.S. and across the world, more happen. So from the prides from back then to the prides now, I mean, what do you think? I mean, is it better? What would you like to see? What would you like to take away?
I moved back to Rhode Island 1997, and very shortly afterwards I got a phone call asking if I was Belle Pellegrino from the original, and I said yeah, and I was invited to be.
You're like, who's asking?
Rodney P. Davis, he was the head of the Pride, Rhode Island Pride for many years, and I was like, who are you? And he invited me to come down. We were at Indian Point Park, and I got down there very early in the morning, and still the mist in Providence, and there's a walkover bridge for pedestrians from where they were setting up. And I walked up there and I just stood there, and I hadn't been to the Rhode Island Pride since about 85, and this was a good 12, 13 years later. Mm-hmm. And I stood there and I bawled like a baby. Mm-hmm. I looked out at it and thought, that stage, we could fit everyone in that first Pride parade, including the people on the sidewalk on that stage. And I just looked at them building, putting everything together, and it just took my breath away at how much it's grown. A couple of years ago, we had the 40th anniversary, and I stood on the stage, and I brought a camera, and I said, it's a family reunion. Yeah. And I pulled the camera out of my pocket, and I took a picture. I said, because you are our family. You are all our legacy. It's grown so much, and it's taken on all different meanings, but it still has the basics. It's about love. It's that simple.
I love seeing kids at any Pride event, you know. I mean, you guys paved the way. I mean, when I go to the mall now and I see kids holding hands, I'm like, shit, that was us, you know. And then I'd say to me, you know, I'm like, shit, that was you. You know, there's just so many things, you know. We have the Fairhaven Council on Aging group that comes, and every now and then Tom will be here. And Tom and Marvin and, God help me,
Connie.
Linda, Connie, they all volunteered at Pride this year. They had never, all these years. And they, you know, talking to our youth and said, like, listen, we're needed. We are really still needed. Our job is not done. You know, we talk about that on different shows. It's not done. You know, if you stop, marriage equality, you know, if somebody stopped, then it wouldn't be where it's at today. I just want to kind of go around the table if you guys want to say like a parting thing. I know you do the Imperial Court of Rhode Island. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, I've been with the Imperial Court for about 15 years now, and one of the things that attracted me to it is that, A, it's the diversity, that it's straight, it's drag queens, it's drag kings, it's non-performers, it's performers, it's a little bit of everybody. And we literally pay dues so we can spend money out of our pocket to do events, to give.
Yeah. You donate to 501c3 status. Ginger Ale did an event at the bar maybe 2.5 months ago, and the proceeds went to the network.
It's our way to give back to the community, but we've done things for Providence Animal Rescue League. We've done things for AIDS Care, Ocean State, just anywhere in there.
As long as you're 501c3 status.
501c3. If you need help, we will help.
Imperial Court of Rhode Island. There's one in
Providence.
There's Providence. There is one in Massachusetts, but they're like so far away.
They're in Boston.
The South Coast is actually part of the Imperial Court of Rhode Island.
Yes. Correct. We've encompassed Rhode Island.
There are actually 2 courts in Massachusetts. There's one in Springfield as well.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid, I can remember watching TV.
They had it back then?
Yes.
Okay.
I was 7 or so when they came up with it, but
that's good.
It was good. We used to watch it, and the news always said, Rhode Island and Southeastern Mass. We're the same thing.
Yeah.
We're part of you, you're part of us. I was so pleased to be able to go and be at the first event you had for Pride.
And we were thrilled to have you.
Yeah, Belle was actually at New Bedford's first Pride as well. So 2008 for us and 76 for 76ers.
And on the video,
Yeah.
she stands right out there,
Two
she's
76ers
dancing with her cane.
We're one family, and that's what it needs to be. I wanted to throw one thing in.
Please.
It's so important. If people wonder why we keep doing it. Some of us who've been around a little longer than others, and they want to know why we keep doing it. And last night I had a chance to talk with a young trans guy who talked about being homeless because his father threw him out, and talked about some of the ways in which his father referred to him. And I went home and I was bonkers. I was ready. By this weekend, I will have him hooked up with some people I know who will help him. After he was out the door, the father threw everything out the window.
I'm sure.
And
It's
from a
happening today?
second story window, including his medications, that he has not been able to get refilled because it's too soon.
Yeah.
As long as that crap keeps happening, we have to keep going.
Yeah.
Every one of us, and we have to keep bringing in more, and we have to keep doing more to make, if we can't make the parents stop doing this to the kids, then we've got to make a place for those kids to go.
That's why I'm so excited for our 501c3. Like I said, even if we have the center down below and upstairs, at least some beds, transitional housing, get these guys transitional employment, so it could be a 6-month, 9-month program. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna help you with your GED, we're gonna help with the education, we're gonna move you along, we're gonna get you the job. You gotta do the work. You gotta put all that work in, but we're gonna get you to that set. And then maybe, even if it's a 9-month program, get you in, get you up, get you out. Okay, next please. You know, even if it's 5 kids, even if it's 10 kids, whatever it happens to be. Could you imagine having showers and laundry facility for people just to come in during the day and be open? We talk about a perfect place, having drop-in hours. It's not really drop-in, we're only open a couple hours a week. So as we get going, we want to be open more. We started an 8 to 13 group right now. We just got 3 more referrals from Pride. We already had about 3 kids that came. 7 and 8-year-olds transitioning right now. With the parents, they come for that group. Don't drop your kid off Iowa and just run. Ain't happening. But we started that group to maybe we don't need the 14 to 24. Maybe we can stop the HIV now. Maybe we can show you what condoms are. Maybe that you guys can take a break at some point. But right now you can't. Hey guys, I hope you liked that, the video of Belle on our show. So with Belle on that episode was Nicole Lopes, Joan Stratton, Viola Pina, and Liz DiCarlo. So I thought it was important to kind of show that video and let you see what happened when Belle was on our show. So I want to let you guys know about an event that's coming up December 27th, next Thursday. Before I do, I did get a hello from somebody. So Heather Trombley says, hi Tracy, thank you. Danny just sent some emojis. If you could just send some thoughts and kind words, that'd be great. We appreciate your comments. So December 27th, this is our 2nd annual holiday social, LGBTQ social, just getting everybody together. It's right after Christmas, it's before New Year's. It's from 6 to 8 at the Art Museum in New Bedford. It is a free event to all ages. Last year, it was just really nice to get people together, just to socialize. How's it going? How's your year been? What are you looking forward to the new year? So we definitely appreciate that. So I know AJ just put the link up to our event. And I actually got a private message yesterday from Dennis DeMello. And Dennis has been on our show, and he offered to take some photos of another event, that another thing that I've been working on in the community. And I asked him if he would take pictures for free at the event, and we'll put a donation box up because the event is for free. And he'll email the photos of you to your home. So Dennis is setting that up for us all for free. Thank you, Dennis DeMello, for that. And just to let you guys know that the next 2 weeks will be off. It's Christmas Day, the 25th, and the 1st would be New Year's, so we're going to take 2 weeks off. And they're going to do like a tribute or take some of our shows and post it the next 2 weeks. But we'll be back on January 8th, ready to start the new year, because actually the first week in January, we actually will be our 1-year anniversary. So very pleased and very blessed to be able to have this platform to talk with you each and every week. So again, we need help. We need sponsorship for the show. You can please hit up leo@newbedfordguide.com. For $100, I'll read your ad. I'll put your ad on the screen, or somebody else will do that part. For $1,000, it's 10 ads for 10 shows, 1 for 10 weeks. And New Bedford guy will come down to your business and actually do the video for you. And that's the $1,000 one. So it's $100 to $1,000, or you can just donate to the show and to the network, which we definitely appreciate, and it helps pay for some of the programs that we do. And as you guys know, we just received our 501c3 status not too long ago, which definitely helps us with grant writing and things like that. So I am going to talk to you guys about Belle. Like I said, Belle has been a huge inspiration to a lot of us in the community. And Kevin, behind the scenes, is over to my right, found an article that I didn't get to see, which is terrific. So I'm going to read an article to you from the Rainbow Times from 2011 by Joe Siegel. So Belle Pellegrino has been one of the champions of LGBT equality in Rhode Island for more than 3 decades. Pellegrino was one of the participants in the first ever gay pride parade held in 1976. The marchers had to wage a battle for the rights to publicly demonstrate their pride in their sexual identities. Pellegrino has also been a member of the Imperial Court of Rhode Island, which raises money for LGBT organizations. The Rainbow Times sat with Pellegrino to find out more about her, the Rainbow Times Hero nomination. The Rainbow Times asked this question: which people in the LGBT or ally community have been most influential in your life? Belle answered, foremost credit goes to my parents and my religious upbringing that taught me to value all people and to help wherever I could. Next would be Reverend Joseph H. Gilbert, former pastor of MCC Providence, who encouraged me and showed me I had strength I didn't know existed. Reverend Troy D. Perry, founder of Metropolitan Community Church, and Jose Seria, founder of the Imperial Court System. In the 1950s and 60s, there was no LGBT visibility. Both stood up and fought for what they believed in spite of the odds. The Rainbow Times. How can the average member of the LGBT community make a difference in our struggle? Belle. Every person can make a difference. Taking the time to talk with someone who is alone can change that life for the better. Stepping up to speak out about injustice, talking to family, friends, and co-workers, helping them understand who we are. Volunteering to help any of our community organizations. All the little things contribute to creating change in attitudes towards LGBT community and bringing us closer to equality. The Rainbow Times. What is the best advice you have ever given to do the proactive things you do today for our community? Belle. A good many years ago, Reverend Troy Perry visited my congregation in Albany, New York. At some point during the weekend, he said something I have never forgotten. He said, if you ever see a problem or something not right and do nothing, you are as much to blame as if you caused it. So whenever I recognize an issue, etc., I feel obligated to do whatever I can to correct it. The Rainbow Times. What have you done for the LGBT community individually or collectively that you are proud of? Belle answered, I have been active in the community for quite a while. I am so proud to have been part of many efforts to improve our lives and position in the greater community. But what I am proudest of, and the seemingly little things, the middle of the night phone calls on the gay helpline from individuals who were desperate to find someone who could care if they lived or died, who would care if they lived or died. The 5 to 6 individuals who called the church phone in Albany to say goodbye, and I was able to get them help before their suicide attempt was successful, who still live. The time spent talking LGBTQ youth who felt lost, alone, and hopeless. The Rainbow Times. What motivates your work within the community? Belle answered, I am an adoptee. I am most fortunate to have been raised by 2 wonderful people who taught me to care about others. I like people. I can't bear to see someone in pain. If I can do something to ease that pain, I have to do it. It is the only thing that makes sense to me. Injustice and inequality make me crazy. The Rainbow Times. What can be done about teen suicides that happen as a result of bullying or anti-gay sentiment? Belle answered, I really think the most difficult time in life are the teen years. It is time of searching, seeking, and discovery. Most teens feel that they are somewhat different. To be LGBT teen compounds the turmoil for those years. As a community, we need to make ourselves as visible as possible, as acceptable as possible, and to continue the fight for equality. Most of all, we need to educate the greater community. Bullying comes from ignorance. Laws that make us less equal provide validation to bullies. History has proved, while it certainly helps changing laws to give equality to a group doesn't eliminate discrimination or provide it acceptance. It takes many generations of education to make the laws effective. We need to provide a mechanism for teams to reach out to strong LGBT leaders and individuals for guidance, to lessen their sense of being alone, to find like-minded people who care. Our young LGBT people are our legacy to the world. We need to watch over them and protect them and guide them to be leaders of future generations of LGBT people. The Rainbow Times. What are the top 3 issues that affect our community the most? When I came out in 1968, the biggest threat to the LGBT community was worldwide ignorance and who and what we are, and in 2010, that hasn't changed. The more we can educate and correct the misconceptions about us, the more we gain acceptance and, the closer we become to full equality. About 1975-76, someone asked the question, what would you consider the best thing that could happen to the LGBT community to gain full acceptance in the world? I replied, if one morning all over the world, every LGBTQ person woke up and found their skin had changed color to purple, green, etc., if that happened, our existence could not be denied by others, ourselves or others. People would discover their parent, spouse, child, boss, friend, best friend, etc., was one of them. No longer could anyone say they didn't know any LGBT person and would have to deal with the truth. We are everywhere. The top 3 can be condensed to just one. Ignorance. Ignorance leads to intolerance, injustice, and inequality. To change that means we all must do what we can. We all must do all we can to be teachers of the truth. The Rainbow Times. Do you consider yourself a hero of the LGBT community? Belle answered, no. I have been called that by some, but I don't see it myself. I've always done what I felt I had to do. In 1976, walking down my street in the early evening hours, going to Cumberland Farms for milk, bread, was brave. Living my life every day as an open lesbian is brave. Looking for an apartment or job hunting was brave. Leading a parade down the street of Providence in broad daylight in June 26, 1976, with a federal court order to back me was not brave. It was an act of defiance. The Rainbow Times. Will full LGBT equality be achieved in this country during the next 10 years or 20 years? Belle answered, I have seen so much change in Rhode Island across the U.S. and the world in the past 42 years. Changes I would have laughed at mere mention of back then. It would not surprise me if the laws changed in the next 10 years, changing the attitudes that make it popular to hate us, to permit bullying of our youth and others, and give license to gay bashing will take many lifetimes, but will happen one day as long as we keep working and teaching. So that was an article from the Rainbow Times. You know, Belle, every time I see Belle, I see her at Imperial Rhode Island events. I see her at Gay Bar La Place here in New Bedford. She helps us out at, back in the day, it was New Bedford Pride, and she was actually at our Suffolk Pride this year. And to mention, Belle was actually, it was in the interview, Belle was actually at New Bedford's first Pride in 2008. So there's a few firsts in Belle's life, and I'm very fortunate to have known Belle. So that was one article. I'm actually going to go over to another article before I read the second one. AJ, if you can put the picture up of the police department, I'd appreciate it. Let me just get a quick drink. So doing research, this article is in the New York Post from December 17, 2018. How a small group of LGBTQ cops changed the New York Police Department forever. The picture is a vintage New York Police Department recruitment poster for the Gay Officers Action League called GOLD. At a packed 1981 City Hall committee meeting, over a decade-old gay rights bill, a top officer with New York Police Department's largest union told the crowd he was not aware of any homosexual police officers in the department. A sergeant from Manhattan South Task Force suddenly rose to the podium behind him and uttered words that silenced the massive council chambers. I am very proud of being a New York City policeman, Sergeant Charles Cochran Jr., then 38, said to the microphone, and I am equally proud of being gay. What began as a secret 11-person meeting in the basement of St. Joseph's Church in Greenwich Village in 1982 is now a 2,000-member organization, and there's actually these all over the United States. And when you can finish this article, and again, it's New York Post, December 17, 2018, but when I saw Greenwich Village, that's where Stonewall happened. So it's a stone throw away, if you want to call it that way, from Stonewall. The article was really neat, you know, for him to come up and, you know, say that it's a first. And where would we be today if this police officer didn't stand up with the 11 police officers? And in the article it says that he thought it was a joke. He thought that the police department set it up so people would go to there, and back then you could get arrested for being gay, you know, in the 60s and 70s, that he thought it was a joke or, you know, a rouse to get you to go, and you could be arrested for that. So again, it's a really, really nice article, and I wanted to kind of share that with you. I actually did some research, and these are LGBT figures that were lost, that passed away in 2018, along, obviously, with Belle. So activist Maria Sylvia, I'm going to say the name wrong, guys, you know I kill them, I'm sorry, Spalato, made headlines when she became the first woman to publicly come out as lesbian. She held signs at a rally in Rome in 1972, indicating her sexuality. She subsequently lost her job and partner and ended up homeless for several years. She died in a rest home in Bosnia, age 83, on October 31st. Sonya Wolf, well, some of you guys know her because she's written in Dykes on Bikes and Providence Pride, and actually when I was in the Cape Cod Gay Pride Committee. So Sonya Wolf, biker rider and activist, founding member of San Francisco's Dykes on Bikes, died at age 69 on April 25th. Wolf was also a dedicated champion of LGBTQ rights and an inspiring mother of the movement for lesbian pride and dignity. She moved to San Francisco in the 70s and took part in the first Dykes on Bike gathering at front of the city's Pride March in 1976. And again, thinking about Belle's 76s and this 76s, I guess that kind of resonated with me a little bit today. So I have Zack Kosta, activist and drag queen, 33, was killed on September 22nd. Video footage captured him trying to escape from a shop and being kicked on the ground by two men while others watched. He was subsequently beaten by police and handcuffed before being put on a stretcher. He died from his injuries. 2 members of the public have been charged relating to his death, and 4 police officers face charges of causing fatal bodily harm. I have Casey Hoke, a 21-year-old California-based transgender activist and public speaker, took his own life October 8th following struggles with mental illness. Hoke had previously served as a student ambassador for GSLEN. Pioneer American activist Connie Kurtz died May 27th at the age of 83. Throughout decades of activism on behalf of the LGBT community, she was most recently credited for working to create the 2017 LGBT Elder Americans Act. The act served as an extension to the Older Americans Act, classifying older LGBT people as vulnerable in order for the U.S. government to better service needs. Activist Matt Paluzzo died January 9th while hiking in Australia. He was an actor appearing in Bloomers and switched at birth. Miss Columbia, Osvaldo Gomez, was previously a lawyer who moved from Colombia to New York in 1975 to escape persecution for his sexuality. He later turned to performance. I just want to kind of read you guys a couple other things in the news. The police officer one I thought was really cool, a lot of firsts. The Dykes on Bikes I thought was kind of cool. If you guys have show topics or ideas you want us to go into the new year with, you can email me or Eileen at Traci at sclgbtqnetwork.org or Eileen at sclgbtqnetwork.org. I'm going to end the show. I'm going to end a little bit early today. I'm going to read the eulogy from Belle's service. But I hope to see you guys December 27th. I'll be there. You can meet other people from the board of the South Coast LGBTQ Network, and that's who I'm part of, and that's how we got this opportunity to do the show. So I'm going to read this, and we're going to head out for the night, and we'll see you guys January 8th. So Gia B. Devereaux from Imperial Court System posted this. Below is the eulogy, which was delivered by Kate Ontario, a driving force for the Rhode Island LGBT community. Rest well, Emperor 16 and 24. Eulogy for Belle A Pellegrino, trailblazer, champion, pastor, pioneer, advocate, defender, emperor, marine, and rock. No one word can encompass the force that was Belle Pellegrino. Many call her a trailblazer. Yes, Belle was a trailblazer. Belle never took the easy path. In 1968, at the height of the Vietnam War, young women in Rhode Island rarely joined the military. Belle enlisted in the Marines. She loved the Marines and could easily have made a career, but Belle's honor and honesty led her to a harder path. She told the superior officers that she was gay. She endured weeks of investigations and interrogation before she was separated from the Marines. Belle never took the easy path. Back in Rhode Island, Belle found the Metropolitan Community Church. She could have made her place in one of the mainstream churches, but Belle found a calling among a handful of people ministering with the LGBT community. Organized Christianity was not very well thought of in the lesbian community of the 1970s. It was not the easy path. Belle and her fellow MCC members endured taunts, rocks, bomb threats, and menacing danger to simply hold worship services. But through the MCC, she was part of the founding of the Helpline, the Speaking Bureau, the RIC Gay Alliance. In 1976, when the community sued in federal court for the right to hold the first Pride March, there was Belle. She was one of the tiny handful of named plaintiffs, her name clearly and strongly signed on the public documents. She was there in the courtroom, out and proud. Everyone who marched in the first parade remembers the dread they felt as the march passed through the darkness of the train tunnel and emerged into the blinding light of Kennedy Plaza. We totally expected that when we stepped out into the plaza, gunfire was going to come. We thought we were going to die. Where was Belle? She was the first in the line of people out of the tunnel. She was on point, ready to face the danger first. Belle never took the easy path. Belle never did anything halfway. Either when she and her good friend Noonie Fortin, oh God help me, I'm so sorry guys, I hand wrote it out. Something happened with Martha Ray, the entertainer. She should be recognized for years of service with the USO. Belle threw herself into the task. What's the result? 25,000 letters from all over the country to George H.W. Bush, a presidential Medal of Freedom for Ray, and an attaboy to Belle and Noonie by name from, sorry guys, Miss Landers in her nationally syndicated column. Belle was more than a trailblazer though. She was a trail builder, hewing the trees, laying the path, smoothing the road for the rest of us. In all those hours on the helpline in Rhode Island, and then on the MCC pastor in Albany, New York, she saved countless lives just by being there. As the first lesbian emperor of the Emperor Court of Rhode Island, Belle fathered, mothered, mentored an entire brood of gay and trans men. Belle created family wherever she went. The MCC, Rhode Island Pride, the Imperial Court, her own large extended family, rediscovered and knit together these last years. Sister, brother, godmother, aunts, uncle, nana. Belle was all in one. Belle never could stop being a Marine. She was always faithful. Belle was simply always there. Belle, we are going to have a hard time continuing this march without you. Without your twinkling eye, your straight back, your huge heart, we will keep on the road you've laid for us and hope that we can make you proud. So we're going to post some music up and some pictures right now. And I have some names, so as you guys see the pictures, you'll see on this ginger ale from Imperial Court of Rhode Island, Doug Sylvia, Tom LaValle, Logan Taylor, Austin Barrosa, Justinius Phoenix, Roxy Van Cartier, Gia Devereaux, Ryder Hart, Diana Prince, Billy Menser Ackerley and his husband, Edwina Typhoon, Tiffany Starr, and I apologize, guys, I was trying to pull names out of these pictures, so please, we're going to end with these pictures and this music. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.